Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the FCDB Cup 2017 qualifier. As always, my name is Hawker, here to bring you the action, and we are here for aTTaX up against Epsilon. We did a bit of a break between the maps because the last one overran a little bit for Epsilon, but they will be heading straight underway into Train here. After winning on Mirage, Epsilon will be hoping to make it 2 for 2 on the day. But up against alternate aTTaX, I don't think it's going to be all that easy for them. We are just going to see the knife round play out now, and I believe I should be joined by Sir Danny. Hello, Danny.
Yes, I am very much here, Hawker,
Nice.
but I'm still gonna take my sweet time connecting within the server. But yeah, we're gonna be jumping into Train by the looks of it, and it's gonna be alternate aTTaX versus Epsilon. And I have to admit, this is gonna be quite the interesting matchup here on Train.
Yeah, aTTaX, of course, recently got Hundenin, the one Danish guy in the team, to lead them through. And I believe it was them that just got the clutch in that knife round. I think it was, at least, and they should be sticking on CT side. Of course, Train, I think, is one of the maps where it can be somewhat important. Starting on the CT side is always nice, if you can get those rounds together, of course, but that's always what you have to watch out for, of course. Winning the pistol round, I think, is also fairly important, just to be able to get those AWPs as soon as possible, and that's something that oftentimes you'll see CT sides rely on, especially Epsilon. Back on Mirage, they also went for double AWPs, so I would certainly expect to see that here on Train, if they get the money for it. So we'll have to wait and see if that becomes true when we get into the game, which seems to be taking a little bit longer, but there we go. Epsilon are ready. We'll head underway for the first pistol.
Yeah, looks like that the very first pistol run will commence here in Train. Alternate aTTaX playing on that CT side, the more favored side you could say here on Train. But as we have seen time and time and again, some teams will just turn out to be a much better terrorist side team than the CT team. For instance, Strict, the Danish counterparts of Hunden, they were a relatively better terrorist team than the CT side team. It was quite interesting to witness that, but I think it really comes down to the players. How do they feel on a map like Train? Do they like playing a bit more aggressive? Do they count on their players, try to get the individual picks? And if so, you are successful at getting those individual picks, then you can have quite the good terrorist side on Train. Speaking about setups though, alternate aTTaX has got a very heavy setup towards this A bomb site, only one player towards B, and in fact the setup will work out here for the Germans. I have to admit, Searson spotting out one of the players right there, but now Epsilon, they're in a position where they can plant the bomb, and I'm pretty sure they will, but no, JZ Watkins runs out in the open. That's the bomb being dropped, and Zinken into towards Pop Dog has been spotted out. That was an easy pickup there for Tizian, but in the end, Epsilon losing some of their players very, very early on there.
Yeah, and we kind of saw in the first game against Resistance that Epsilon just played, there were a fair few, I'd say, sloppy rounds in there, where also the force buys are even becoming a possibility in terms of just the pistols finding those opening kills. And that might be something Epsilon have to work on here. Either way, they are just going to go for the Desert Eagles into this second round, so we'll get to see if they can find any quick headshots. aTTaX themselves not really taking too many fights. You can see Stefan just playing fairly safe, jiggle peeking for the information, but of course doesn't want to take the fight with the UMP. It looks like Epsilon is still just going to wait to see if any of the aTTaX players overextend, but now JZ Walkins himself is going to be proactive on the peak. He gets a shot straight into the face for his troubles, down to 4 HP early on, and the Deagles can't quite find an entry just yet.
No, not yet. I mean, the Deagles, you can't expect much from them unless some of those players can land some of those sick 1-deeks. Oh, speaking about 1-deeks, there's Zinken with one. But still, I mean, alternate aTTaX, they should be very much in contention taking this round. They have the superior weaponry. They have the superior armor as well. So, in fact, if you're Epsilon, I mean, if you're able to get a couple more kills here, maybe even acquire a bomb plant, that would be such a great round from you. But for the time being, the Deagles are not doing so hot, and time is simply running out here for Epsilon. It's going to be about time that we see a push from the Swedes, and I think such push is already happening. Take a look towards Ivy, JZ, Watkins, and co. moving in slowly but surely, but there's Hunded and Pop Dog picking up a pretty important kill, I have to admit. They're dwindling down the clock here, Epsilon, quite a bit here, but now you have two of the more players surviving, but not any longer Zinkin, the last standing Epsilon player who with only 9 points of health. I don't see him clutching this one out anytime soon, and that is just the case. Alternate aTTaX pick up their second in relatively good fashion. They end up losing two of their players, but at the same time, the German team invested quite heavily within the SMGs.
Yeah, after losing the first pick, that was a little bit of a risk, but at the same time, Epsilon themselves in that round only went for the upgraded pistols and didn't decide to buy the Kevlar. And I actually really like that from Epsilon, just to make sure they will be able to have as much money as possible, for that first gun round, especially on train, where you always would like an AWP. Even on the T sides, there are going to be some long-range fights in between the trains. So I'm happy to see Epsilon keep a little bit of extra money in the bank. And that means on this round they are just going to have really the one flashbang and a couple of pistols to use. At the same time though, Tizian is solo holding the B site. So if the timing is right, he could be taken down, but as he gets the information, the incendiary will be placed just to make sure he can't get overwhelmed. And aTTaX are more than ready for the push. They also have Searson now rotated over. So not really expecting Epsilon to get too much done, but with how safe aTTaX are playing, the bomb plant could still be a possibility.
At first, we saw the player from the CT side having a relatively aggressive position, but now the thing is that he's got some backup. It isn't that bad, but Searson, okay, Searson and Tizian both picking up frags, but Epsilon are getting what they wanted. Pretty much a bomb that has been secured. They're going to be getting extra money, and now it's pretty much going to come down to the Germans to make this one as clean as possible, and clean it is, as they're able to pick this one up relatively quickly. And so Epsilon, you're going to be seeing a relatively good buy from them. They didn't make any sort of far spies. They invested in some of those better pistols the round previously and in this round as well, and they take a look at their money. I mean, it just goes to show they save up that money. They're going to be having AK-47s with utility, no problem whatsoever. JZ Watkins as well, purchasing the op, having some of that one that smoke and flash. It's not that bad. And I think worst case scenario, in fact, if Epsilon might end up losing this one, they're still going to be able to afford themselves a partial buy. So it's not looking that bad. In the money situation, it's not looking that bad here for the Swedes. Oh, but look at this push. I didn't even notice, but aTTaX and his teammate is able to get that frag towards Brownholz, and that's already an opening here for the Germans, plus Lonesome Hunden the Dane.
Yeah, and more importantly, that means they have Brownholz control for themselves. You can see Tizian sticking around. The smoke, is deployed, and so Epsilon themselves don't really have the chance to make their way back here. In fact, Zinkin tries to take a fight. Thought Tizian might have been able to get the headshot there, but doesn't quite connect. And so that prompts aTTaX to just fall back and keep the man advantage. And with over a minute left on the clock, sure, Epsilon have a fair amount of time to work with, but still have to come back from the 4-on-5. And we will see, I believe this is Barbar regaining control towards Brownholz. Epsilon are going to have to group up if they want to go for a push. Right now it seems like they're just waiting to see if anyone from aTTaX pushes out. Seems like that won't be the case though, and so as the clock starts to become a factor, we'll get to see where Epsilon decide to push through. A bit of utility being used towards A, and that might allow them to push forwards. But there's also 4 aTTaX players waiting on that A site. So now the bomb's going to come back towards B, and with Tizian playing so safe, the bomb plant again could be fairly easy. However, there's still an incendiary. That's going to slow things down even further and allow the rotate to come in. The time is running out here. Epsilon have to push this B site quickly now.
Indeed, they must. Look at the time. It's dwindling. 20 seconds on the clock. That's enough to plant the bomb, though. It shouldn't be that big of an issue here for the Epsilon side. But now look at the rotate. The rotate has already commenced here. Hunden picking up an important frag in order to retake this bomb set, I truly think alternate aTTaX shouldn't be having a difficult time retaking. Zinkin is in a pretty awkward spot, though. He might just be able to pick up a frag here and then, but apparently not. Stefan is with the frag, and now Barber and Eric P trying to do something. Barber peeks in with the best possible time. They have to stick the defuse here. Epsilon are actually making it work here. Tizian and Searson. There we go. Tizian with the frag, and now Eric. He can clutch this, but apparently not Searson, as both of the weapons were aimed right at him. it was quite the difficult clutch. Surely, if that would have been a pre-fire, he might just take down the diffuser. But as a close-up round, it was alternate attacks come out through. But at the same time, Epsilon, we talked about the fact that they've been building up some of that money, and them getting a bomb plant in this round means that they can actually get themselves another gun round. It's looking quite good for them. JZ Watkins, he's the lonesome player with the CZ75, but if his teammates with the AK-47s will do most of the work, then heck, the CZ can simply recover a rifle from one of the dead CTs, and Stefan lining up the shot. Very nicely done by him, and Epsilon now got themselves a difficult task ahead of them. They might just get some frags here, but that's the only frag from Zinken at the time. JZ Watkins replying with a kill of his own, but still, 3 versus 2. It's not looking so good here for the Swedish side. Zinken on top of the train, and there's Hunden ready to pounce. And Zinken again with the bomb on his shoulders. Not going to be having it any easy. And so, Zinken, 12 points of health for you.
Here comes the flank, but actually Zinken gets that first headshot there. So he will be successful in falling back with the bomb in his hands. We saw Zinken on that previous map win plenty of clutches, even winning a 1-on-2 to close out the map and surviving on 1 HP there. But this is still going to be a very difficult one to pull off. 2 full health players to deal with on the CT side of things. Stefan, well, he's not focused towards Ivy fully. However, now he will just look towards that angle. And with the AWP, he should still be favoured in this fight. There is the shot landing. So Zinken will go down at the end. Nice try there after finding the 1 kill. But aTTaX got that double AWP setup going. They get the round win. Epsilon, though, still have a fair amount of money, but at the same time, they've already gone for a couple of force buys. At this point, it's probably worth just making sure they can get a full buy as soon as possible, because aTTaX are already starting to really get their CT side rolling. 5-0 lead, likely to become 6, only up against the Pistols here. And so that's why I like the decision from Epsilon to just make sure they can get a full gun round sooner rather than later, because they don't want to risk this one getting out of hand.
And especially with the maximum lose money bonus in mind, acquiring a proper investment from the Epsilon side is not going to be that big of an issue. It's just that they're simply giving the sort of advantage here for alternate attacks. 5 rounds in a row for the CT side. They're going to be quite happy with a scoreline for the time being, though. A bit of a spray there coming in from Hunden. He's actually quite successful at heading JZ Watkins there, minus 52 points of health for him. But Epsilon, I mean, it doesn't look like in a round like this they have some sort of game plan. So right now they're trying to see maybe alternate attacks is gonna get kinky here. Try to push and push. They will. Esven will be getting that frag. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Getting that frag there, and Epsilon are just now gonna be having it even more difficult. The Pistols, I think it would have made maybe a bit more sense to try out to play a bit quicker in the round, and there we go. There's some frags in favor of Epsilon. Zinken as well with a frag of his own, making it a 3 versus 3, but still a difficult one. Stefan lining up the shots, easy frags for him, and the pistol player is gonna try to do something. There's a 1 dig. 30 seconds on the clock. It's still a decent amount of time to wrap around back towards the B-bomb site.
Yeah, I believe this is Kevzy with the Deagle. Who really knows, because they've not got the right names, but let's see if he can pull off the clutch, because the bomb will be planted towards B for free, and aTTaX aren't really that close to the action here. We're actually going to see Kevzy go for the big flank all the way around down ladder. This is going to be difficult to play for the bomb, but at the same time, I wouldn't expect aTTaX to just get straight on the defuse and try and stick it. So there's a chance here that this works out in his favor, as long as aTTaX don't stick the defuse the first time. So let's see if that happens. We are going to see Stefan again just fake the bomb. He doesn't want to take that risk. The AWP is recovered, and he's got the angle for the fight here. There goes the first kill, and Kevzy has a great chance now in the 1v1. Jiggle peeking, getting the information. He still repeats, and what a shot from Kevzy to close out the round. 4 kills for him. Recovering that AWP made such a huge difference, and a very well played 1v2 to realise he had the time to go all the way back around through connector. I'm really impressed he managed to pull off that one, and you can see aTTaX possibly a bit rocked by losing that one. They're going to take a tactical timeout.
And it's also a good thing that he was actually able to recover none other weapon than an AWP. Having that AWP, having it in such a long range advantage, I mean, you're able to use it the best possible way. You get that frag, and in a 1 versus 1, the player, he doesn't even have a decent amount of time to stick to the fuse, and he wants to take the fight. I mean, he's up against an op. That's a single bullet for the op, and that's round already over for aTTaX. And as we just saw, that was pretty much the case at that point. I mean, very nicely done there from Kevzi. I was a bit skeptical him moving a bit maybe too slowly, but at the same time, aTTaX were definitely taking their time, checking as many angles as possible. Where on earth could the last T be? And the thing is, though, he came from right behind and alternate attacks here. And around like this, going for the full-on investment here. The double ops, though, it's a good thing that the double ops have been relatively successful for them, so I do understand a force buy like this, but Tizian, with an auto shotgun nonetheless, holding B by his lonesome.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how he makes that one work out for himself. Especially if he had a second player helping, he'd be okay. But instead, he's having to hold both ramp and upper by himself. The timing might work out here for Tizian, though, if he goes for the peek. And he's thinking about it. The flash comes in. He goes for the aggression. And the shotgun works out well. He gets that first kill. Now he decides to play things safe. And you can see Epsilon having second thoughts here. They don't want to go running straight into a shotgun at close range. And so now Epsilon going to be forced to slow things down after losing that first pick to the shotgun. And, I mean, that must be a bit confusing for them. They don't really know if they want to push the B site now. See Epsilon just taking their sweet time. With 45 seconds left, they have a fair amount of time left to work with. But the question is, do they want to hit the B site? Looks like still they are sticking around towards B. And Tizian's going to get some support now in the help of the AWP of Searson now watching towards upper. So after losing to a shotgun earlier, they might not expect the AWP now to be watching this angle.
Yeah, but it looks like they shouldn't. But like, what they should realize is that the shotgun, if it was close by not too long ago, it still should very much be close by. So we do get to see the op there, and Epsilon's still gonna continue on with the push, delaying it for as long as possible as aTTaX. And I mean, 10 seconds on the clock, that's not a lot to work with here, Epsilon. You gotta plant the bomb, and the bomb is nowhere near the bomb. It finally is, but it's a bit too late. He's gonna stick it. Barber just about gets it, and in fact, Searson missing a shot, a crucial shot at that. And now Barber trying to push through, and the USB could have killed him, but apparently Barber is still very much in the fight. All up against Stefan and his lonesome USP. The op, the USP pulling out his weapons. Baba in such a difficult spot, but he spots out Stefan and gets the frag as well. Nice crosshair positioning there from Barber. Wasn't a difficult spot, but once he gets that second frag, and even the very first frag, I mean, the player not hitting his shot, I do believe that was Searson with the op. He gets that kill onto Baba. The round is over, done and dusted, but that was quite brutal, I'd say, from the German side. I mean, I'm not quite sure how they lost that one.
Yeah, they should be winning that every time. The first player pushing with the AWP should just land the shot, and then as soon as he misses, it all goes wrong from there. I don't really know what else to say about that one. Not only is it a round loss, but it's also going to force alternate attacks straight back down to pistols. And so JZ Walkings will open up, and likely going to be another round win for Epsilon off the back of that clutch. And that just makes it even more brutal for the alternate attacks side of things. Here comes Tizian peeking out. Might just line up the pre-fire, but not going to get too much damage done. Kevzi only takes about 20 damage, and there goes Tizian losing in that fight. So it does seem as though Epsilon will likely be able to close the round out from this point, just up against 3 USPs. With the full rifles on their side, of course, they will be hoping to not lose a single player, but Stefan is up close, so they need to watch out for this angle. There they go. Oops, sorry, there we go. Clearing the corner, easy stuff. Just Etzvan and Hunden left.
As it should be against a buyer like this. You can't expect much from the pistols, but Hunden, though, trying to make it work at least at the very end. He's going to be able to acquire both of those kills, which isn't that bad there for a full-on eco there from the alternate attack side. And now a pause, but it's a pause from Epsilon. I'm not quite sure if it's more of a tactical. Yeah, it's more of a tactical pause. Ping spiking? Well, could be. I mean, could be the problem here for the Swedish side, but at the same time, you know, we have to give credit for them. The past couple of rounds that they did win really relied on the individual prowess of the players. First of all, we saw the first round being picked up by none other than Kevzi with the op 1 versus 2, a 1 versus 3 by the hands of Barbar, and of course now full eco here. That was an easy pickup for Epsilon, so the individual prowess is there from the Epsilon side, but when it comes down to getting the initial engagements, whether it be the A bomb side or the B bomb side, this is where they tend to struggle by the looks of it.
Yeah, it looks like we are going to see, of course, buys for both sides into this round. aTTaX with plenty of utility. I believe Citizen should have... Oh, okay, he's got an M4 for himself there, surprisingly enough. And Epsilon themselves, I expect JZ Walkings will try and go for the AWP on his side of things, but we're still yet to see the buys. We just chill in the timeout for a little bit longer. Looks like the technical issues might last a fair bit here, so hopefully again we can get straight back underway as soon as possible. But yeah, kind of surprised here that Alternate aTTaX don't have an AWP in this buy. I guess they didn't quite have the money for it, so that's something to watch out for in this upcoming round. We might have to see Alternate aTTaX go for some aggression to counter the fact they don't have an AWP able to hold those strong angles. And there we go. We are now calling for the unpause, but aTTaX will make us wait just a little bit longer. Still yet to see if JZ Walkings goes for the AWP, but certainly expecting it. And then we will get to see if he can find anything with that AWP, because again, aTTaX not able to afford that on their side.
Yeah, JC Watkins during the Fnatic Academy days was a relatively good operator, to be honest. You know, he was actually a relatively good player, having some great performances on maps like Cash, if I recall correctly. But honestly, once he's joined the Epsilon lineup, he hasn't been such a great opera, I might add. He also, I think, once he was in Renegades, now thinking, recalling, was he actually opting for the Renegade side? I don't think so, because JZ was part of Renegades while Nifty was in the lineup, so we also didn't get to see him opt the higher echelon of Counter-Strike, and now, okay, he will be picking up the op, so this is important, you know, for Epsilon. This might be the one saving grace for them to allow to get a pick, because the rifles, for the time being, haven't been successful at getting these sort of entry frags. The op, though, might find more success, but look at his push in Ivy. Stefan and co already pushing out here, but Stefan picking up two. Out the third one, JZ Watkins will reply with none other than the sniper rifle, and in this bloody exchange towards Ivy, I mean, looks like Epsilon come out on top. It's a free versus free, and in these sort of even situations, you gotta be favoring that T side, but oh no. Kevzi, though, he will get the frag in the end somehow. That's quite surprising to see, and now oh no, the bomb.
What?
The bomb is dropped in the middle of nowhere. I have no idea why Barbar thought this was a good idea to push through the smoke. It wasn't Barbar. It wasn't a good idea.
Yeah, just gifts the bomb to ESFN, and so now JZ Walkings has to make his way back with the AWP, but this is not an easy shot to hit for him. Out comes the molly, the peek comes in though from the AK, and up close of course he's going to be favoured, so Kevzi will be coming in from a different position, but he's going to need this first kill fairly quickly, and oh wow, that shot comes through from ESVN, finding 3 kills on the round, and his push in towards T main wins aTTaX from that position. But at the same time, Epsilon certainly can look at some of their own mistakes there. I don't know why you'd walk through a smoke with the bomb in your hands. Maybe he didn't know he had the bomb. But even then, walking through a smoke without a nade, not normally going to work out all that well for you. And that is proven again as aTTaX get the round win. However, Epsilon's still going to go for the buy. Zinken, surprisingly enough, going for the AWP, trying to find an opening pick. And there is Hunden on top of Red Train, who could be in trouble. Looks like both teams are just going to sit back, and so Hunden will be safe for the time being. Let's see if what these rifles can do for the Epsilon side.
I think it's safe to say they might just do a bit more than what, you know, Epsilon has got the offer for, you know, this round. You take a look at their buy, they have some of those pistols, 2 ZZs, 2 AK-47s, and the op onto Zinken. I have to admit, JZ Watkins hasn't been doing so hot on the op. You know, he has been buying that weapon, but as I was mentioning previously, he hasn't even found these sort of entry frags. Yeah, we saw him get, you know, a killed round previously, but that was no entry frag when you think about it. A crucial frag, sure, it even swings out, but then I mean, he hasn't used that op, I'd say, in the most proficient of manner, and alternate attacks. Time is passing. 50 seconds here on the clock, and actually already JZ Watkins pushed out a train. You gotta admit though, Tizian, he needs to get these frags. He's so low on HP. Don't expect much from him, but he does get a second the first frag, to be honest. And now Epsilon, you were thinking, okay, JZ Watkins opening things up here, not with the op, with the CZ nonetheless, and you might be thinking they have a chance here, but things are still relatively close here. But now Stefan dropping the bomb as well. JZ Watkins swinging with the CZ. We'll be dropping one more player, and Eric P, of course, will be planting the bomb. But as he's planting the bomb, Searson, his position is crucial, dropping Eric. And now JZ Watkins did a very good job at getting those frags with the CZ, but his position up in heaven. This might be a bit too difficult here for the attack side, but look at this. They have two Molotovs to flush out the position of the player. They're expecting him to be here. JZ Watkins will fall, and no Molotovs will be required. 7-3 is going to be the scoreline favoring the alternate attack side.
Yeah, and Epsilon there, of course, invested all their money into that round, so they're not really going to have the buy into this one. Despite taking a couple of rounds close here, Epsilon, it looks like alternate attacks have been able to just about pull themselves over the edge to get these round wins. And to be fair, that's still reflected in the money on the attack side. They really don't have that much cash built up, but they've managed to sort of weather the storm now and force Epsilon down to the pistols. So they are the ones looking in the better of shapes. Just taking a quick look at the scoreboard here, because we're not going to see too much action at the start of this round. Searson currently leading the way, as well as Tizian. We've seen Tizian towards B be willing to go for some aggression, but this time he's just going to sit back. Of course, attack should be aware it's likely a pistol buy from Epsilon, so they are just going to sit back. Fairly standard setup from the CT side. And again, it's kind of on Epsilon to prove that they can find an entry kill first here. Nice attempt on the boost for Zinken, but there's no one really from attacks playing this aggressively on A, so not really going to see any fights to start off the round. Unless Stefan here takes one towards Ivy. Looks like Barbar on the other side is just waiting patiently. So both teams happy to just sit back and take a nice, pleasant, calm start to the round.
Pretty much sit back and relax and enjoy the show. And Barbar is going to try to make a show here, as he's actually going to might just take down one. It's going to be Hunden, in fact. That's what feels bad there for Hunden, but the rest of the squad of Epsilon is doing relatively good in the fragging department. They're going to be recovering the bomb. Eric will be the one to plant said bomb, and JZ Watkins, he's only got the Glock in hand, so that's not much of weaponry, but he might just take down Stefan. There we go, the Glock reigns supreme, and now he's got himself an M4 for his trouble, so it's not looking that bad here for Epsilon, looking relatively doable, even though Eric with the P250 landing some shots, crucial shots at that. Now JZ Watkins spotting out the player, should be killing him. There we go, that's Tizian now dead, and Epsilon recovering in a pretty, wow, that's pretty, I have to admit, we were talking about the fact that attacks, all they gotta do is sit back and relax. You get those easy frags with the M4s, but the pistols, you know, they get in those sort of close quarters engagements, and they reign supreme by the looks of it.
Yeah, that's such a brutal loss for attacks as well. As we were saying earlier, that was the round where we were hoping they would hold on to a fair few of their guns and build up that money, but as they lose the round, their cash is looking poor. They're not going to get the buy for this one. And so Epsilon now themselves are really on the front foot here, especially on their T side. They've got to be liking that round win there. We are going to see attacks themselves likely not invest anything into this round. If they full eco here, they can probably get a buy into the next one. But again, not really expecting to see an AWP or anything like that into the buy. So it's still going to be fairly difficult for them into that upcoming round. And, well, we saw Epsilon win with a small investment into pistols in the previous round. But I don't think alternate attacks will be having the same fortune, because they've just got 5 USPs. And Epsilon themselves not going to take things slowly against the weak buy. They're just going to rush straight out towards the A site.
And even then, as they're rushing out, it sometimes could be difficult, but this time around, I mean, they're getting these frags here. If the pistols would have been closer, like for instance, Searson in this situation, then the pistols, I think, would have been able to do more damage. But as this is, you know, the start of the round, the pistols, they haven't really had much luck to get any good spots, you know, behind the bomb trains, behind the bomb carts, behind the trains. So they weren't able to accomplish much. The AKs just plowing through, and Tizian, I think, is gonna try to recover a rifle here. It has been dropped here for the Epsilon side, but even then recovering could be of quite the difficultness because Zinkin spawning out Tizian, and that's gonna be a frat. So they do end up losing one of their players, Epsilon. But as this second half is coming to, this first half is coming to a close, I'd say money is not the biggest of issues here for the Epsilon side. For alternate attacks, again, if they end up losing this one, they're gonna be facing economical turmoil.
Yeah, I didn't expect Searson would be able to buy the AWP here, but they just about have enough money for him to pick that one up. But, of course, he's not going to be able to afford the Kevlar. So a glass cannon AWP alongside the flashbang for him. In the meantime, Tizian going aggressive yet again towards B, but Jay-Z walking swings back around to watch for that aggression early on. And Tizian, for the most part, has been having success in the B push early on into the rounds, but this time he goes down. Just as I say that, though, didn't expect Barbar to be falling there, but Stefan pushes out through Ivy, so aTTaX going for a fair amount of aggression across the map. And now they have a few players on the B site ready for the hold, but already Kevzy finds that first entry that could make a huge difference, because now the bomb should be planted fairly easily. And Jay-Z Walkings also finds another easy kill. This is all going in favor of Epsilon on the B push.
It very much is. You're probably thinking, okay, they actually have 2 players towards this B part of the map. So you're thinking they should have found more success. Stefan is fighting success, but is that going to be enough? No diffuse get to play with here, so sticking it doesn't make much sense. He's going to need to find frags, and frags he will find Zinkin now. 1 versus 4 against Zinkin. Stefan doesn't have the most amount of HP, but even then the AK will be able to pick up a frag, an important frag at that. Stefan, it looked relatively close, you know, he still had some time on the clock, but I mean Zinkin, if there was a time for him to shine, it was around like that. 7-6 is the scoreline. As I mentioned previously, alternate attacks could be facing some money issues, and money issues they are facing right now in this 14th round. And you know, as the first half is coming to a close, it doesn't make sense to eco, as they're still going to be having a relatively good buy, but this means Epsilon is going to be equalizing, tying up the scoreline.
Yeah, that should be the case, especially as Jay-Z Walkings has already found that first with the AWP. Would like him to just play safe now, and indeed he will. There's no need for him to stick around there and risk going down. As the push comes in, Jay-Z Walking's looking around. He had no idea where Searson was from, but yet still it works out in favour of Epsilon. No kills coming through for alternate attacks. Despite their Epsilon looking a little bit shaky on the team main hold, they managed to get all the frags they needed. We go back to a 7-7 scoreline, and, well, heading into the last round of the half, of course, aTTaX are going to have the bye, but I'm going to be interested to see how aTTaX play their T side, because Hunden, when he used to in-game lead on Tricked, they would take a lot of rounds really quite slowly, and then go for executes with about 20 seconds left. So I'll be interested to see if he's implemented that into alternate attacks, but for the time being, we're going to have to focus on this round, because Epsilon have got 2 AWPs to start off this round on their T side. Of course, they have the money in the last round here, so they decide to invest into them early on, and it pays off for Barbar as he finds that first opening pick.
Yeah, very nicely done, and by the looks of it, Epsilon, after getting the initial frag, will be slowing things down. They have acquired the double op setup. There's Barbar picking up a frag with the op. Nonetheless, Eric with his op is just holding towards Ivy, so it isn't that bad of a setup here, but problem is Tizian towards Brown Halls is going to be getting a frag. I'm not quite sure how on earth did that happen, but Tizian, he gets a frag and he also backs away with his life, but he didn't push in here. This isn't smart Tizian. He tried to play smart, he tried to be cheeky, but it simply wasn't good enough. You're Epsilon, you get this frag, it does make sense to push on the B bomb. If there was a player pushing towards B, most likely than not, he should be alone, and Epsilon, it's a fake. It's a good old-fashioned fake. Now they're going towards A. In fact, they will be playing the bomb. That is not that big of an issue, but holding this one off could be players from Ivy, from Ultrain, from Popdog as well. This could be quite the difficult hole here for Epsilon.
They do still have a molly for the bomb if they want to throw that out. That's in the hands of Eric. And here comes the push forwards. This should be a free kill in the back. Just about finds it, but there comes the trade. So now we're back to a one-on-one, and the Molotov is gone from the Epsilon side. Still needs to kill though. Jay-Z Walkings misses the shot. And so alternate attacks will close out the half with 1 extra round to take the slight edge at the halftime scoreline. I believe there's just about enough time for the defuse, and indeed it will be 8-7 in favour of aTTaX. But again, considering it's their CT side, not the best of first halves for them. I think Epsilon overall will probably be the happier of the two teams, but still certainly possible to go either way here, as again, we'll get to see what happens in the second half, because I'm very interested to see how Hunden sets up his team, because he's had a fair amount of time to work with this new alternate aTTaX lineup. So let's see what they go for in the pistol round here. Just Kevlar for the most part. Generally, Hunden used to buy up the nades, and they will go for 2 sets of nades on the attack side of things, including a Molotov. I think generally you see Hunden calling to go for the B play and then try and molly the bomb later, and it seems like aTTaX might just go for that as they all group up towards B to start the round.
I mean, it's simple. Simple stuff from alternate aTTaX, and the B bomb side, the good thing about B is that in most scenarios, in pistol rounds like these, you should be able to plant the bomb pretty much every single time. Planting the bomb, sure. Holding off, that's another question. I was thinking that ESFN might actually be holding off that Molotov for the later post plan, but apparently he chucks it towards connected, and look at this from alternate aTTaX. They allow the Glocks to get in range, try to take these fights, but problem is JZ Watkins pick it up free. Problem is I wasn't able to spot out any of those frags from his point of view, but what I can say in Hunden's point of view, things are gonna be very difficult from the in-game lead. They're gonna try to do, it's just too difficult for him as the pistols are aiming straight at him. So that's what I was talking about, you know, the B bomb side. The good thing about it is that you can't plant the bomb. That's not that big of an issue, but holding off the bomb side, it gets tricky. So I don't blame, you know, the alternate aTTaX players to try and get those early, just try to move between the train carts and do some sort of damage, get some kills. Problem is, they barely got any kills in. The round just simply falters. In a round like this, you're probably thinking, okay, they plant the bomb, the Germans, all they gotta do now is just eco this one out. But in fact, it's a flawed investment from the alternate aTTaX side.
Yeah, a bit of a strange one, especially considering Epsilon in this round themselves have rifles. I don't expect aTTaX to have too much success, but just as I say that, Hunden opens up with the P250. JZ Walkings on the site taking huge damage from the molly. The bomb is going down in the smoke, but JZ Walkings doesn't expect it to be so out in the open. So alternate aTTaX already have got the bomb plant out of this round at the very least. And there's still every chance they could come out on top here because the time is ticking away. And Epsilon themselves will have to make their way forwards. You can see they're slowly but surely creeping up through Ivy to try and find some kills. Here comes Barbar himself, but where have those kills come from? Alternate aTTaX coming out huge in this round with the pistols. It's just Zinken left alongside Barbar, but already Zinken is out of there. And so Barbar is forced to save, and how on earth do alternate aTTaX win that round?
Some of those crossfires there on the A bomb side from the players with pistols were beautiful to witness. Very nicely done from the alternate aTTaX side. Epsilon, they were probably thinking, okay, we should be easy, having this one easy. I'm not quite sure if they, I think they were expecting them to be on full-on ecos. That's why we saw that very aggressive playstyle from them on the retake. The thing is, though, they had armors. They had some of those pistols. I also think there was one lonesome EV, and that was enough to break the CT side economy in a round like this. Epsilon, I mean, I wouldn't blame them if they would have gone to try, you know, force the issue here, trying to go for a full-on force buy, but in fact, some of the players will be saving, some of them forcing. I'm not quite sure what's the thought process in a round like this, but Epsilon, that's quite a heartbreaking loss in a round previously.
Here comes the push towards B, but the CZ up close gets the one. In comes the quick trade, though, from the AKs, and so aTTaX should be able to get the plant free of charge. Epsilon not really anywhere near the site, and it seems like aTTaX should be able to close from this position. And to be honest, I wouldn't even be surprised to see Epsilon look to save what little they can. Here comes Searson just dropping on Zinken's head. He survives on just 2 HP, finding the frag with the Mach 10. So it looks like aTTaX will indeed clean up this round win. Here comes Barbar, should get this one kill. There we go, the MP9 comes out on top. So a little bit of extra money as well on the kill for him. However, not exactly what Epsilon were hoping for as they get decimated on the B site.
In general, what was actually Epsilon expecting in a round like this? I still want to come back to their buy. I'm not quite sure why some of the players did invest, others did not, and or went for a partial buy, and the third group of players didn't even invest at all. So I'm not quite sure what was the whole thought process in a round like that. But I mean, I'm pretty sure Epsilon, you just want to try to get those rounds over as quick as possible. Think about the gun rounds. You are not in the lead, that is true. Alternate attacks in a position where they can acquire the 11th round here without, honestly, any sort of issue here. But you gotta be thinking about the gun round at this point. And Epsilon trying to go for a bit of a stack here towards the B bomb side. I mean, it's a 50-50 chance here for the in-game leader to choose which side to stack. And apparently they stacked B, where no action will be happening on the A bomb side. But the bomb has been planted. Alternate attacks are gonna be having it easy.
Yeah, Epsilon might as well go for the exit frags, of course. No real sense in saving the USPs. Especially considering also aTTaX just have full rifles. You're not really risking giving up any extra money to a MAC-10 or anything like that. And also the fact that if you just kill one of the aTTaX players, there's a chance you could save a rifle out of things. So that's what Epsilon will be hoping for here. You can see Jay-Z Walkings creeping his way towards the site. Doesn't seem like he's going to spot anyone, though. He's going to tap the bomb, and that might just force aTTaX to come back towards the site here. They could be in trouble now in terms of dying to the bomb. You can see the kills coming through. This could be a very intense end to the round. The bomb doesn't take down any of them, though. There is the one rifle lost, and so Zinken will just about hold on to that. So a slight positive there for Epsilon at the end of the round. And they go straight into those double AWPs for their CT side buy.
That looked a bit scary there from alternate attacks in the end, but pretty much you were the terroricide team. You planted the bomb and you, from the get-go, didn't have any sort of engagements with the CTs. All you gotta do is just reach A main. That is where you can hide. You don't have to go pushing through, try to kill those players who are on a full eco. So still nicely done there from alternate attacks. Yeah, they end up losing one of their players, but that still isn't that much as this frag right here. Searson taking down Jay-Z Watkins. That's one of the ops already out. And now Barbar, can he prove to be a more valiant operator than Jay-Z Watkins? Because he has been, I have to admit, he's doing a pretty good job on the scoreboard. But when it comes down to opping, he hasn't been doing so hot.
Yeah, we are going to see Barbar decide to rotate with this AWP towards the B site. So A is looking fairly vulnerable now, but there goes Zinken recovering that AWP from his fallen comrade, and he gets himself a kill with it. That's Searson, going down. So both AWPers lost on either side, but Epsilon are the ones who managed to keep the AWPs in the other player's hands. And now with 50 seconds left, alternate attacks still not really grouping up for a push just yet. It looks like, as I was suggesting earlier, Hunden will look to run down the clock in a fair few of these gun rounds. And they've still got plenty of utility for a push towards a site, whereas Epsilon themselves have thrown out all their nades. They're going to have to rely on the aim, and as Zinken misses that first shot, that's going to allow aTTaX to push up close. You can already see on the map they're making their way towards the site. Hunden clearing the angles, and I think the bomb's just going to go down here. There's no real contest from Epsilon. Finally, Eric tries to take a fight. He goes down, and so the bomb is planted, but Kevsi gets 2 important kills. And so aTTaX now, with only 2 players left, do find another frag, and Tizian gets a great headshot at long range to leave Zinken 1-on-2 with an AWP.
He is dissatisfied. He is dissatisfied after dying in the way he just did. Zinken, with what he's got, I mean, he's got the op, he's sticking through. He can scope in to try to fake this one out, but he simply doesn't have a lot of time. As, you know, Tizian, all he's got to do is peek from Pop Dog, and you also have ESFN coming up from behind. So that was just a difficult situation to actually win for Epsilon. In a 2 versus 2, I mean, it's still possible, but we just saw what shot was fired from Tizian. I mean, that's so heartbreaking there for, who was it actually to take the shot? It was Barbar, and, you know, we saw his dissatisfaction within the chat. So Epsilon, again, in the sort of situation where they don't have a lot of money for a proper investment, so they're just going to be sticking with these pistols. And Tizian, though, through the smoke and flash, will be picking up one of those players. That'd be Zinken out, and Eric as well. So even though they tried to probably hit brown holes, now this push crumbles from Epsilon, and that is just peeking out one by one. It's pretty much over at this point. Barbar might get a kill here, and a kill he will get, but there's also a player close by. That'd be ESFN, and that's an easy frag for him. 13-8 Epsilon. If there was a better time for them to actually come back into this game, it would be a round like this, because they simply are running out of rounds to play with here on Train.
Yeah, they will go straight back into those double AWPs, but we saw in the very previous round or at least in, I think the 2 rounds ago in the gun round, it was Searson who got that first pick and took down Barbar early on. This time Barbar is going to reposition over towards B. He had a good spawn to peek brown halls, and he might just take some fights early on here, because you can see on your minimap alternate attacks are coming towards this position. But the Molotov means that Barbar decides not to go for that peek. With alternate attacks all grouped up around B like this, we might be seeing them go for a much faster round. However, Barbar, I'm sure, will have something to say about that. He's going to look for an opening pick with this AWP. Very close range angle he's holding there, and so aTTaX just going to be allowed to push down here. The flash works wonderfully well to get that first pick, and Barbar misses the all-important shot as he goes down. The B site is fully open for aTTaX to claim, and they just keep on going. Even more kills coming through. 4 frags without any response from Epsilon, and this round is already over. Just kevZ left, and alternate attacks on the B push there didn't even take a single point of damage. Such a convincing round for them.
Yeah, the shop is open and ready for business on this A bomb set as alternate attacks not losing a single point of health. In fact, that's how dominant they were actually able to push through onto that B site, the defense crumbling. And I'd say too, would have been nice to see from Epsilon. You know, they had 2 players. I think it would have been a pretty decent setup if they would have had a player towards coils, and I think the other guy sniping through, I think that was Barbar. Him also not peeking there. If he peeks, spots out like 4 guys, I think he's in a position to get that frag, but he was way, and I mean way too passive with that sniper rifle. Who the nade though? That's a very nice nade being chucked there towards Ivy. Deals a decent amount of damage here. This could help out Epsilon to win the round, but I mean previously that was just horrendous to watch. Stefan though, come on kevZ, you don't have to peek, but now you gotta run away with that Molotov underneath your feet. 14-8, yeah, it's the score. It's not looking too bad, to be honest, here for the alternate attack side.
Yeah, they've looked in great shape on this T side. After losing Pistol, I thought they might have been in some trouble. They win that force buy, and ever since they have not looked back. Linden has been, for the most part, setting up slow plays, but he showed a willingness there to go for the quick B push. Just as I say that, Jay-Z Walkings opens up with the scout. Incredibly good shot there to find the headshot and open things up for the CT side. And elsewhere, Barbar is going to go for some aggression in towards T main, holding close with this Mag 7. So it's looking not too bad here for Epsilon, all things considered. Their aggression has worked out for them early on. With 35 seconds left, alternate attacks are going to rotate back around. I think they are going to come in towards A, though, and so can Barbar get a kill up close with the shotgun? That becomes the question. Here comes the push through. Barbar goes down first, and now aTTaX will look to overwhelm the A site.
And I think overwhelmed they will, especially spawning out kevZ right there. He might have been the more important part of this Epsilon puzzle, but as players are just dropping left, right, and center. Eric will be replying with a frag. He will plant the bomb here, and that's not that big of an issue. But Jay-Z Watkins and Eric, they gotta put themselves in a winnable situation by getting the frags, and Eric will be getting said frag. Tizzy and Doe and Steerson, 2 of the remaining T players. They also have a Molotov, so if that Molotov is chucked on the bomb, they simply don't have a lot of HP to work with here. But Tizian drops. This isn't looking that bad here. Look at the Molotov being deployed. Finally, Searson now, he's got the Mag 7. He might just get the frag with the Mag 7 nonetheless, and yep, it is the Mag 7 which prevails. That was close, but not good enough there, Epsilon. Not good enough.
Yeah, Searson throws away the AWP, gets a kill with the P250 and the Mag 7 instead. Just casual stuff for him there. Doesn't need that AWP, doesn't need that $4,700 gun. And to be fair, at close range, the pistol can still be very, very viable. And we see that come through after he gets that first kill. Always was going to be favoured to win the clutch. And so now Epsilon, yet again, they're down. They are almost out. And with this buy, this could be the last round for them. We have seen some aggression into Popdog. The SVN nearly taken down there. Goes to 18 HP. And Barbar will get out of there fairly cleanly. So a little bit of damage done to start off the round for Epsilon. They're still going to need a little bit more before I can comfortably predict they have a good chance in this round. Because again, aTTaX have been happy to sit back and just hold on to their nades for the late round pushes. And when they've done that, Epsilon haven't really been able to counter it so far.
And especially in rounds like these, Epsilon simply doesn't have a lot of utility, so they've already within the past 30 or 40 seconds or so already deployed pretty much the entire set of utility that they did have, especially those smokes. They're out. They still have a couple of those flashes of Molotov onto Zinkin and Jay-Z Watkins with the nade, but smokes are out. And I think Epsilon might be the ones to face some issues here, as alternate attacks are now deploying smokes of their own and pushing on this A bomb side. Barbara, though, will be getting a frag, which isn't that bad, but now the T's are going to be having it relatively good as they have planted the bomb.
Yeah, and with the bomb going down, aTTaX can just afford to play safe. They still have a Molotov, but there goes Kevzi pushing through, and the kills are coming in for the Epsilon players here on the retake. There goes Hundem with the one headshot. They're going to have to make their way forwards, but Zinkin is pushing aggressively. There's a kill for him. Hundem forced to swing out wide, and that allows Zinkin to open up with a triple kill on the rounds. And Epsilon finally managed to put a stop to this incredibly strong winning streak we've seen from alternate attacks. But even with that round win, there's still a long way to go for them. They're going to need 6 more in a row just to bring us to overtime. But good to see Zinkin step up, because I think he was probably the MVP of the first map for Epsilon. He's starting to have a little bit more of that impact here as he gets himself the 3k and Epsilon get the round. But of course, still going to have to deal with the full buy from aTTaX.
And a crucial round at that. This puts Epsilon in the game for the time being, though. They really don't have any sort of lifelines. All they gotta do now is just think about getting the rounds. They might just get the round 6 in a row. In fact, it's possible, but it also could be quite of difficult here. Alternate attacks. We have seen this terror side team having much greater effect on the terror side as they have been acquiring these early frags as well. The executes are relatively good from their side, and there hasn't been really some sort of close scenario games from the Epsilon and alternate attacks on the second half. That round previously, you could say it was relatively close, but in the end, alternate attacks now are gonna be having, by the looks of it, a B execute. We haven't seen a lot of these, but when we have, they have worked out here for the alternate attack side.
Yeah, and here comes the push already. For some reason, Auto Director not switching over, but I can assure you the B site has been claimed yet again from alternate attacks. They get themselves the man advantage on the B push, and that just cannot happen from the Epsilon perspective. You can see now the A players trying to make their way back around, but it's just not going to happen for them. Kevzi, the one man left, runs into the fire, decides to fall back. He, of course, has to go for this 1-on-3, as this round would be the deciding one for aTTaX, and indeed it will be. Kevzi can't do anything. Again, the B site hold, possibly the issue for Epsilon, as alternate attacks take a 16-9 victory here. And to be fair, we've been saying that Epsilon was struggling, but I do like the way that Hundem was setting up attacks there, just to go for pushes towards the sites with sort of a full execute, because it was fairly simple for the most part, but it was clearly effective, and he didn't really need to switch anything up. So well done by alternate attacks, and in their opening game in this group, they get themselves the win.
Yeah, and simple stuff, simple textbook Counter-Strike. Those pushes, like that pistol round is pretty much ripped off from one of those Boomio videos that were back in the day. But you know, that didn't work out. But when it came down to the gun rounds, you know, Hundred and his team were able to succeed, and it's pretty much just goes to show Epsilon not having the best CT side defense there, and alternate attacks having a good T side. So with those being meshed up, I mean, it's just alternate attacks that was able to pounce through and get themselves the round, and in the end, the game win as well here on Train.
Yeah, and I was a big fan of how Hundem used the utility, I think, as well. That's the main thing, just the fact that they did have that utility and they fully used it. Either way, we're going to be back with Resistance against Seed, the last game of the day, so make sure to stick around. We will be back with that as soon as it is live. Don't go anywhere.